Hello, Altered community. Hello, friends. Hello, viewers. Today, we have something a little special at the beginning of the Altered section of the stream. Equinox actually previewed the next Altered set called Trials by Frost. Let's read this intro part really fast, and then we're going to casually go through the article, talk about the few cards they showed, talk about some of the extra information we received on the Altered Discord, and I'll give my initial thoughts. I'm a little divided on a couple things right now, but you know, time will tell how I feel in the end. So let's get started with the Trial by Frost preview, released today. Reading time is 6 minutes. Probably not going to read the whole article, but we'll read this first part. Begin your ascent in Trial by Frost and face off against the dangers of the Caius Adara. I'm assuming that's how you say that. A steep range of mountains shrouded in eternal winter. Gear up, gather your strength, and lead your expeditions through a hostile environment of ice and snow. We got this nice preview key art here showing a bunch of the heroes from the first set, and that is relevant to something we learned. We've got Traced, we've got Atsadi, Rin, Finn, Aphanis, Golrong? I think that's all the heroes. It's very good art. If you notice, everyone's in winter clothes, or at least the people you can clearly see are clearly in winter clothes. So it's a nice little touch for it being a winter ice themed set and part of the world. Nice clear logo, although I think everyone can agree it's a little hard to see on the white background. The release date is going to be January 31st, 2025, which I'm happy to see the release date being not only January, but the end of January, because that means they really are trying to give people time to play with each set. The rumor right now is set 3 is going to come out in May, so essentially 5 months later. And if that's the release schedule, I'll be very happy. They previewed some art. We can click through it a little bit. That's actually really cool looking. That card's got to be called Fenrir or something. This is a sled. Are we gonna get a Santa card? That'd be fun. And then, okay. I don't know enough about the lore of Altered to comment on this kind of stuff. I do want to get into it more since I make content for the game. It's Amarok, an Inuit wolf. Oh, that's very cool. Thank you for the information. Hopefully I'll get into the lore more as I play and as I read things, but the next section are the cards they previewed, so let's look at those and I'll give my thoughts. We can talk about it. Begin your ascent. Many hardships await on the way through the mountain, and you will need to come equipped with gears, a new type of permanent. Bolster your expeditions with the right tool or the perfect snack for the road ahead. So let's look at this first gear. Arcelano Milk, Expedition Permanent Gear. It's a 1/1 cost, so 1 from the hand and 1 from reserve. It's a Bravos card. It has a wrench icon. Play me in an expedition. If it moves forward, I go to reserve during rest. When a character joins my expedition, it gains 1 boost and fleeting. If it would be sent to reserve, discard it instead. Okay. So, this is interesting. It's play me in an expedition. If it moves forward, I go to reserve. So it's like a once use or twice use permanent that gives a static buff to a single expedition. it's not really like what an equipment would be in Magic or other similar games, which I think is like what people are going to go to for like gear, but maybe there will be some that are like that. They don't attach to anything. Um, they're almost like enchantments, but only for a specific expedition. Uh, they are permanents, but they don't go on the landmark spot, which is interesting. We already knew that there was going to be different types of permanents, and that's going to come up in like my feelings about what we've learned so far in a minute. This is interesting. It's a very Bravos card. They have a lot of ways to make things loose fleeting already. Like they want boost most of the time. Like that's kind of their play style. I think this gives them flexibility in the order they can do things in, because sequencing in this game is very important. Um, and it being one cost means that you can like on turn one or on day one, you can play this and play one of your weaker one drops and kind of hopefully guarantee you move in the expedition and can use it again in the future. I do think that's something that some of the factions are lacking right now are ways to get through expeditions with low cost cards. And I think this will help Bravos. I'm not sure they're one of the factions that needed that help, but it is interesting. We'll have to wait and see what other gear does. Based on this, I'm going to assume they're going to be very faction specific. Like maybe the green one will give Anchored or something in some way. But let's continue. The Caius Adara is both a place of wonders and harrowing dangers, and you will need to learn how to maneuver through its steep cliffs and icy lakes, adapt to the environment, and become one with the elements with cards that benefit from different region types. We've talked about this on stream before, that we've talked about it a lot actually, that there are currently heroes that feel lacking because the mechanical support isn't in the game, and this is the perfect example. So Demeter, it's a character plant deity. It's a 6 from hand, 6 from reserve, 6/5/5. So decent stats. Like I would say those are like pretty good stats. Plant is relevant in Muna. Deity is not relevant in anything, but it could be one day. And the ability says if I'm in forest, I am eternal. During rest, I don't go to reserve. So Renin Orchid is a current hero that cares about you winning in forest terrain on expeditions. This has the highest forest stat out of the three. It cares about being in a forest. It stays eternal. Like these are the types of cards that will make the lacking heroes function better. I don't want to claim that it'll make them meta because I'm not a meta player, obviously. And so I'm more interested in variety than like not consistency, but like I'm more interested in knowing that it can be made whether it's good or not. And it can be made now, but things like this will make it better. Like Asadi needs more ways to ramp to function better. And hopefully this set brings some of those things too. I think this card's cool. Like I think it's just a good role player in that deck, and I think that Eternal is fairly annoying. So you know, bring disruption for this card. And the third one, beyond certain altitudes, oxygen becomes scarce and resting comes at a costly price. I think that should say price, but I'll believe them. Be very careful how you manage your resources and stay vigilant as your expeditions progress, lest you become exhausted. So I read this card earlier and I got a little confused, so hopefully reading it again will make me understand it better. So Moth Larva, it's a 1/1, so 1 from hand, 1 from reserve cost. It's a 1/0/1. Character animal. From hand, if there are 2 or more exhausted cards in reserve, I gain 1 boost. Now, this card is definitely more of a tease for some sort of mechanical through line of the set. You see this in other card game previews all the time. currently, I'm trying to think really hard. Currently, there's nothing that exhausts in the reserve. So that has to be something coming in the set for this card to function. And I'm more curious what that's going to be and why. Because this card is fine. Again, this card is like will be a decent role player in whatever deck is exhausting from reserve. Unless I'm like really just forgetting what card does that in the first set, but I absolutely am pretty sure there's no card that does. No. I want to be surprised, but thank you for the offer. It's very clearly teasing another mechanic, which is cool, instead of showing the actual mechanic. I definitely have like crackpot theories and like tinfoil hat theories about like what that is. And it'll be interesting. Hey Sayonara. Also, hey Eric. I'm sorry I didn't say hey to you. How are both of your days and nights going? I think like this preview card for me is the most exciting, but almost entirely because we don't have the information unless you saw the leak that Eric mentioned, which I did not. So, and I'm going to attempt to avoid it, although if it comes up, it's okay. Yeah. So what I'll talk about in general about the previews and the little bit of extra information we got. They also previewed snow versions of the adventure cards, which is very cool. They're now going to actually come in boosters. Yeah, right here it says you can find any of the 5 adventure cards every 5 booster packs, so that's cool. So I will always recommend people buy the starter decks when they start playing the game, but knowing you can get adventure cards in the packs is a good thing for the game in the long run. It's funny because it's Regis, the founder, who shared a celebration pic at the end of Kickstarter, and we saw cards from set 2. Yeah, I mean, hey, it's a card game. Something's always gonna leak from what I've learned playing card games over the years. You know, get people anticipating early. They showed the product images for the booster packs in the booster box. Okay, so let's talk about things that we know and things we kind of know. So things we kind of know. The guess right now is that it's either, I should have written it down, but the number of commons in the set will be in the 90s to like very low 100s is what people are saying, because people saw the code number, ID number for the Ysmir card, which Ysmir should be the last faction in the card pool. So people kind of are figuring out how many cards are in the set. We've known, or like, we basically knew that the second set was going to be small, or much smaller compared to the first set, and I think that's a good thing. We did learn more today from Justin Parnell, the head of organized play at Equinox. I believe he's the head. If I got your title wrong, I'm terribly sorry. But he confirmed that there's 12 heroes in the set, and they're all the same heroes from the set 1 booster boxes that aren't in the starter decks. So all of the starter deck heroes we played are not in set 2, but all of the other set 1 heroes, the exact same card is in set 2. He basically reiterated a few times on the Discord that they're the same cards. Like, there's no alternate art, there's not different mechanics on the cards, they're the same cards. And this kind of caused a debate in the Discord a little bit. And this is the part I'm kind of torn about. As someone who makes videos for the game, obviously for me, and especially someone who makes silly jank deck videos for the game, having more heroes helps me. But I think for the game and for like what they're trying to go for, which I would call a casually competitive game, designing the game so that you have the same hero for 2 sets, 3 sets, and cards get added to give variance to the type of decks people can make, I think is better for the game, like regardless of how I feel about it as somebody making content. And that's just my opinion. There was a ton of different opinions all in the Discord. Some people were kind of upset with it, some people didn't care, some people were kind of happy with it. I think my issue will come in if we get set 2 and the decks basically look the same. And I think that will be a problem for them too. Now, I don't think that's going to happen. Like, these cards are all things that will change the decks that play them. But if that happens, I think that would be an issue that should be avoided. Now, I mentioned this in the Discord, but my tinfoil theory, since I basically started playing the game, is that we will get heroes in 1 set a year, and then the other 2 sets will be about expanding what those heroes do. Now, we'll see if I'm right by the time the 4th set comes out, but that's my theory, is we will only get new heroes once a year. Because, to be honest, since I don't know what the mechanic is for exhausting things in reserve, I don't know what deck this would go in out of the heroes we have right now, because I don't know what the mechanic is. So, for me, this is a game-changing card. This is the game-changing card. Like, this one, you know what hero this is going to go in. But that's why I'm a little torn on it. Personally, I would have liked one new hero in each faction, but I agree with what they're doing from the perspective of it's what's good for the game. So, but time will tell. And that is everything we got shown today for the Trials by Frost second set for Altered.